We are here for week 4 feature matches. First match tonight is between Christopher G, Oompa Loompa, and Oskar T. So I'll be watching from Christopher G's point of view, and Justin will be looking at Oscar's hand here. We see Christopher taking a mulligan. Appears to be on some sort of 3, 4, or more color domain deck, as we see with a lot of people who have been opening Dominaria. Oskar, I believe he was on a Sultai deck last I saw him, but what do we see about Oscar's deck here?
Yeah, well, currently he's only showing green and black cards with green and black lands. I'm not sure yet if he got rid of the blue splash, but right now it just seems like a very normal Golgari deck.
Yeah, so Christopher, he mulliganed and kept a hand with Essence Scatter, a Gaia's Might, and the rest lands, and then put a land on the bottom. But he has drawn Talus Lookout and Niall here in the intervening turn, so he's going to be able to cast his Niall next turn. And then once he
Ooh,
finds another blue, he'll get a Talus Lookout.
yeah, currently we are stuck on 3 lands here
Okay.
on the side because this mine will help in getting a fourth land. He
He
doesn't
might.
have much in terms of interacting
Okay.
with the opponent. He has like a Rot-Tide Gargantua as the only real way to hinder your opponent.
All right. So that's a card from Crimson Vow. So I think Oscar has opened up. He's left Dominaria a bit, but he's still in a multicolor deck, or maybe he's just splashing the blue now. We see the island there.
Yeah, so he does in fact have some blue cards or some blue kicker. He just picked up a Bone Splinters, which is going to make short work of this Nile.
The Crawling Infestation is one you don't see every day either, which rewards you for putting creatures in your graveyard.
So he got it since the Vinyl went to the graveyard, he got a 1/1 out of it.
Yeah, so once per turn only, uh, you can make a 1/1 insect if a creature enters your graveyard from anywhere. So, cool
Uh,
little card here.
a
Heirloom
bit of a
Mirror.
rough mill.
Yeah.
No creatures, but you did
Uh,
mill a very good removal spell.
yeah, well, he's gonna mill some more here and hope to hit something, but we see the Essence Scatter here. The Essence Scatter is still going to trigger the Crawling Infestation, so he gets his 1/1 by hook or by crook here.
Yeah, really not the most premium of Essence Scar targets because Eerie Soul Tender, not exactly the most efficient body, and you play it mostly for its graveyard effect.
Yeah,
So
so
get an
he's
expressway to the graveyard.
yeah the green black cards. A lot of the green black cards in Dominaria sort of go towards this filling up your graveyard theme, which works well with some of the cards from the Innistrad sets.
Oh yeah,
So we see Oscar's opened both Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow here. So here's the Rot Gargantua gonna expertly use his 1/1 here to get rid of Chris's only creature. His Talus Lookout still uncastable, despite having 6 lands in play, and the 7th land, which is another forest, will not help him here. And he's going to go to the next game because he can't cast anything, and opponent has 9 damage. So non-eventful game there. Looking a bit deeper at his Chris's deck, it's very solidly a green-blue deck. With domain cards, and he's playing an Urborg Repossession, but the rest of his spells are green and black. He's playing domain lands, domain and different lands for kicker and all that, but green blue base to his deck. Or he has a Shana as well as a white card.
okay. Oscar, yeah, he decided his deck was perfectly good to go. Just demonstrating how powerful the synergy he has in his deck, making real short work of game one. And the blue I noticed was just for 3 cards for Urtai, for Tatiova, and for Niall.
Yeah, those seem worth it. Niall, if you don't have the full domain, it's not a great splash, but it's still a good card.
I found that the ability, is still fine, even if you don't have the full domain. You get to basically make sure you just draw a relevant card every single turn, and it's the best card of the choices.
So looks like Chris is considering taking out one or more of his pump spells here for maybe slightly more interactive things.
Yeah, Oscar actually had a very good foray into Midnight Hunt
Mm-hmm.
or Crimson Vow. I'm not sure which one Ren and Seven is from, but
That'd be Midnight Hunt.
so
Yeah,
yes, picking up quite a bomb of a card there.
yeah, that's a fun one. Notably, Chris's deck is it's leaning quite aggressive. He only has three cards in his deck that cost more than 4 mana, which are Frostfist Strider, Territorial Marrow, and Herd Migration up at the top of the curve. But the rest of his deck is twos, threes, and fours, really. So he's looking to beat down, I think, here for the most part, a lot of the time.
Did he have that much card draw?
He has a Silver Scrutiny. He has Tolarian Geyser, Ether Channeler. He has three copies of Niall, so he'll be likely to cast one in most games. As we
So,
saw,
so
he did draw that there.
it
So, I mean, when you're playing green blue, you usually get some card draw.
doesn't look like the very you're not going to be like seeing like a heavy hitter from that deck like every turn,
No,
unlike like most blue archetypes are typical to do.
he's trying to get on board early and then just sort of keep the momentum going. He doesn't, like I said, he has a bunch of four drops, but nothing higher than that. He's mulliganed here. His opening hand had a single plains as the only land. Now he's mulligan down. He's putting his herd migration on the bottom. Reason being is that he doesn't have a green source in his hand.
Okay.
He has a white
So
he has a white black tap land and a blue black tap land to go along with blue cards and a automatic librarian, which hopefully he'll be able to cast on turn 3 and smooth things out here.
So yeah, Oscar also multi five. He had the first two hands were a one lander and a no lander, so he had to ship those back, and now he has a respectable hand of five.
Yeah, so we
You know,
so
he,
so we have a multi 6 on the play and a multi 5 on the draw, which is pretty close to the same thing here. Here's a slaughter specialist. We saw this from him last week.
oh yeah, this card does quite a bit of work if left unattended.
Yeah, so Chris has drawn a third land here to play his automatic librarian. He's gonna scry two green cards to the bottom. Even they're both fixers, but he doesn't have the green to cast them. The Vine Wall and the Weaver of Blossoms, the Mana Dork we saw last game. So those two are going to go to the bottom. But his hand is pretty reasonable at this point. Essence Scatter, Ether Channeler, Tolarian Geyser, and Battle Mystic. So he'll be able to cast things. He'll be able to draw a couple cards here. So he should be okay.
Oh, there's a Shieldred that was just milled.
Yeah, Shieldred. Vine
One
Shepherd
more of the
punishes the
many.
draw. Not very useful. He's going to cast Ether Channeler here, it looks like. And I would guess draw a card with it. Alternatively, he has Geyser, but I don't think he wants to Geyser either of these. I guess Geysering the Slaughter Specialist is not too bad. Because it
Yeah,
makes him
receiving.
another 1/1.
I said receiving a free 1/1 in this says seems a lot more better than it was before.
Yeah, he has drawn his green land here, so now he'll be able to basically deploy everything in his hand. Vine Chipper Prodigy, Battlewing Mystic if he wants to kick it. So this green red land unlocked pretty much everything that he needs. And like I said, most of his deck is 4 mana, so almost any draw is going to be fine.
I mean, he was also missing green and red for his domain, so now he has full domain on unlocked.
Yeah, so his herd migration's at the bottom, but like I said, unless he draws like 3 or 4 lands in a row, almost anything he draws is going to be useful here. And he has stuff to do in the meantime. So looks like he's working out of the mulligan nicely here. How's Oskar working out
Well,
working out of his
he's
mulligan?
casting Urborg Possession to get back both his rares.
That's a thing you could do. Yeah.
Yeah, so his hand is pretty stacked actually right now. It's basically he has that fourth land in the swamp, and he can cast either Shieldred, Urtai, and if he draws a land, he could play either Tireless Hauler or Ren and Seven. So
Okay, so his hand's just full of good stuff.
it's just full of gas.
Yeah. So seeing that, Christopher might need to leave up his essence scatter here if he can afford it, because he doesn't want a Shieldred to resolve. I'm very certain of that. That card
I'm pretty sure.
just
I'm
runs
pretty sure
away.
no one wants the Shieldred to resolve.
Yeah, and with a green blue deck, he doesn't really have a way to get things off the board permanently. So Let's see what he decides to do here.
Did he have any like removal in his like potentially black or white that he could have played?
Didn't get a good look at his sideboard. He didn't go too far into it. It looked like he just had blue and green cards in his sideboard. So Vine Shaper Prodigy, he is going to kick it here to try and find things to do. He sees a forest, an impulse, and a Urborg repossession. Doesn't have
So
anything to do with an Urborg repossession yet, and none of the cards he has are that great, but he takes that anyway.
I don't think the game will last very long if you leave this children unattended though.
Yeah, I think he's hoping to like bounce it and counter it, but he doesn't have the 2 blue for that. But he's going to scout the wilderness here to get the blue.
Okay.
But in the meantime, Oscar just gets to do just gets to resolve good cards, while Chris is sort of stumbling around here, trying to deal with the Shaldred. So if he scouts
Yeah.
the wilderness, that's all he's doing for the turn. But it does give him his second blue, so he can, do the blue removal spell, which is bounce and then counter.
Yeah. You gotta do it sometimes. It's like it seems like the most inefficient of ways to get rid of things, but you know.
Yeah, but knowing what Oscar has in his hand, it's just Shieldred might end up dying by that by getting bounced and countered, but Oscar's just gonna have other good things to do in the interim, uh, and Chris is not gonna be able to deal with those things.
Yeah, it's just a common occurrence of blue green just struggling to kind of remove things, especially when like your opponent is running multiple threats.
Yeah, it's blue green. Traditionally in League, we don't see that many just green blue decks, just because you do need to interact with the opponent, or you need to be extremely aggressive, and green blue doesn't remove things that well, and it's not usually an aggressive color combo. But Chris is doing well so far in the league. I believe he's 11-6, so he's had success with this so far.
Yep.
He has good cards. He has some good tempo things. He has high quality creatures, but does he have answers to a planeswalker here that's going to make a 5/5? Yeah,
I don't know. He could technically bounce the
yeah,
token, but even then, like you
yeah,
can't even kill Ren and Seven on
yeah.
with a full swing.
Oscar decides he doesn't even have to attack here. Like, he doesn't need to do anything. You just sit back and he's going to win this game, uh, just by accruing so much value from these cards. Shieldred's just a 4-point life swing every turn on a 4/5
Yep.
that asks nothing else. Like, we know it's one of the best cards in the set.
Yeah.
Red and Seven was
You
one of the best cards in its set as well.
just getting the best of both worlds here. Just get to have all your synergy of black green while also opening all the good rares. Just a good recipe of success for a league deck.
So Christopher's probably asking himself, "Why me?" Right now, just bemoaning his this horrid luck that's come upon him. He's looks like he's thinking about Tolarian Geysering the token. He could then cast, or he's going to bounce the Shieldred, I guess. One strategy is he does have a 2/1 flyer in hand, so bouncing that token could get him closer to killing this Ren and Seven. But it looks like his main concern is Shieldred, and if Oscar decides to read him for a counterspell, he could just play something else, right? His board is pretty good even without the Shieldred.
Yeah. Ren 7 will eventually win you the game. It'll be less fast than Shieldred, but it
And
will eventually accrue. It'll always make you hit your land drop. You'll have like a giant Titan
so Ren and
just
Seven
guarding your life
has
total.
drawn 2 cards here and dumped a Snare Spinner and a Bone Splinters, which don't seem very desirable for Oscar. So he's not throwing away cards he wanted. He has what he needs. So unless we see a really good series of draws from Christopher, it might just be a matter of time here. Look, whatever the next creature Oscar plays is likely going to get countered. Let's see if he decides to resolve the Shouldred or not. So he's going to go for Rager. Yeah, he's probably reading him for a counter spell here.
Yeah.
Essence Scatter and just saying, nope, I don't need to cast it right now. I'll cast 2 creatures instead.
Yep. Not pressured at all to actually develop his powerful rare. He's already stable on board and with a stable value source with his Planeswalker. If he wants, he could play Shieldred when he has 8 mana with Urtai Resurrected to counter the counterspell.
Right. So what are the two unknowns in Oscar's hand? Because we can see a Forest and the Shieldred and Urtai,
Okay, so they have the Tireless Hauler that I mentioned before,
right?
the 4/5 Vigilance that becomes a 6/6,
Yeah, the 5
and
mana.
another Splatter Goblin.
Okay, Splatter Goblin. Yeah, Splatter Goblin like is a good defensive creature in a deck like this. You're not going to get attacked on the ground early when you have a creature like this, and you just get to you know make sure you get to your good cards. Very good defensive card, especially if people are playing aggressive decks.
It's very good. It's very nice in this format. Usually the -1/-1, depending on the format, might not kill that many creatures, but in this format where there's just random tokens running around, a lot of creatures are just X1s. You just get some, a 2-for-1 with this card more often than not.
Yeah, or you just stop your opponent from attacking. So yeah,
Yep.
Splatter Goblin can attack freely on this board. Like
Yeah. You just it trades for.
yeah, so this is gonna. So it looks like he's trying to gang block this 7/7, and even with Urtai, but Urtai's open here as a combat trick essentially, and the
Yeah. I
Slaughter
mean.
Specialist is going to get very large as a result of all of this as well. That
Yeah. So
unassuming little card we saw on turn two that hasn't done anything yet. Well, now that combat's actually occurring, it gets a counter every time an opponent's creature dies. So it's gonna
yep.
get it's gonna be the largest thing on the board.
So yeah,
Yeah, so
this
Oscar,
7/7 going down and making another 7/7 in its wake
yeah,
essentially.
Oscar's just gonna let this happen. He doesn't need to use Urtai here as a combat trick. He just made a 7. He just replaced a 7/7 with another one and killed 4 creatures in the process. I think he's happy with the way things are going.
He could even make another 7/7 by sacrificing his Ren 7
I
if he
think
thinks he just wants to end the game.
in limited that seems like it's always the best course. Like just get your two gigantic creatures and continue on. We'll see
Yeah,
if
it's
he
like,
decides to do that or not. No, he's gonna keep the value going and draw 3
oh
cards.
my, just draw 3.
Yeah, so he can zero it to put all those lands into play next turn if he wants to.
Yeah,
Oh, so here's a herd migration, so that'll at least give some board presence here. That's that's a card it went to the bottom, but came back now. But the Urtai is going to counter it, but the Essence Scatter is going to stop the Urtai. So he's going to get his 5/3/3s here. So, um, you know, he does have board presence now. He's not going to get destroyed immediately, but Oscar, I would
but
still say, has the upper hand here with all the
I
cards
mean
in hand.
the Shieldred's just free to resolve now.
Yeah, the shield
So
is free
now
to
it's
resolve. There's a Battlewing Mystic and an Urborg Repossession for Christopher in his hand. So not really answers here.
yes, the same song and dance that Shieldred provides.
Yeah. So we see Shieldred again. It just means he doesn't have to attack, right? Like Shieldred just means you don't have to attack if you're board stable. So he's just going to play a bunch of things. Make another token. It's an 8/8. So Christopher doesn't have any board wipes. He doesn't have any things to interact with multiple of his opponent's creatures. He's already played basically the best card in his deck, which is Herd Migration, and it's not going to be really good enough here. Yeah, so he feels free attacking with the 3/1. He can get back his Urtai. That's about the only thing worth getting back, but it's still a good one.
Solid advantage. This whole hurt tender going to the graveyard means that even if Shieldred would die, which is like your primary win con at the moment, you could just get it back again and just represent the same loop that you were doing before.
Yeah, with all the mana he has, he could even use Soul Tender and get back Urtai at instant speed and use Urtai with 9 mana,
Yeah.
which he'll have next turn. So just a very difficult situation Christopher's being put in. Another land here is not going to do it.
Is there an exile all permanence? Did he open a farewell from Neon Dynasty?
No, I mean, as we see, Chris has opened at least some Crimson Vow, but it seems like mostly Dominaria. He did not leave Dominaria early on in the league, like some
Yeah,
have.
because at the moment that just seems like the card that has the cleanest answer to this board.
Yeah, there's nothing like that happening. I mean, he can get back his Ether Channel or bounce the 8/8, but kind of putting a band-aid on a gigantic wound. All right, he's found a Tatiova here, but again, uh, not sure how good that'll be. I mean, there is no flying currently or reach on Oscar's board, but the game's operating
Yeah.
on a different level here with the Shieldred and an active Planeswalker.
Well, the flying is very useful. It actually kills the planeswalker.
Yeah, it could kill the Planeswalker out of nowhere potentially with a land drop.
So he's just gonna +1 again, get more lands. Thankfully for Chris,
Wow.
Ren
Yeah.
7 doesn't actually like get anything relevant
He
with the
milled
lands.
he milled the Namada here, which Oscar's deck is looking very frightening. Which he has 12 wins, so stands to reason why he has so many wins. Lots and lots of good cards and good synergy too. Honestly,
I definitely think he's happy to play against the longer domain decks just because of how powerful his late game is. He
yeah.
just seems to have just a powerful engine with all the cards he's
So
amassed.
here's a Tatiova, and then here's a kicked Battlewing Mystic, which is gonna unfortunately lose Chris 4 life here by
Ouch.
drawing 2
Yeah.
cards. So well, you gotta do what you gotta do, but yeah, not the. So
He's really
here's the Tatiova animating the land to but hopefully take out this Ren 7 that has already accrued a lot of value. It's drawn about 7 cards and made 2 gigantic creatures. So
I mean, yeah, the probability states since he only milled really like one creature each time, he should be drawing, not very many lands left.
yeah, and he only really milled 1 card that he would have really really wanted, which is the Namada. The rest of the cards he milled were just cards that weren't doing all that much. Yeah, he can just continue to sit here behind the shoulder. It's essentially an unbeatable clock. There's no amount of life gain that Chris can find that can really set this back. He can gain if he finds a life gain card, which it would have to be a green card because blue doesn't have any life gain. But if he finds that, he can gain a couple life. But the shield's just gonna. It's there's a clock here and it's running out very very quickly.
Well, also you gotta think about it. Every land drop, kind of just adds 3 power flying. So he could, if he gets a land every turn, he could technically just kill the opponent with flying over
Yeah.
like 3 turns.
Unfortunately, the Sholdred is gaining life as well, though, every turn.
Yeah,
So
just
there's this
yeah.
is yeah, this is very 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 oppressive effect here.
Fortunately, like for Oscar, he's drawn only lands every turn.
Yeah, unless you already have like 5+ power of flying on board when Shieldred comes down already. Shieldred's been down enough turns that it's just not going to work out. And this Splatter Goblin's threatening to kill the Battlewing Mystic if Chris blocks it. So
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think he can take the 2 damage. Shieldred will kill him
no, he
in
has to
like three
block,
more
and he's
turns.
going to lose his 2/1 flyer in the process.
Yeah, it's really just a lose-lose situation here. You have, if you don't block, you die quicker. If you do block, you can't kill your opponent quicker.
Yeah, there's just very, very little options here for Christopher. It's find 20 power of flying in the next 2 turns, which, as we know, unlikely here.
What is the card in his hand?
It's a Yavimaya Iconoclast. I think he's holding it to maybe try and get a surprise attack out of nowhere at some point.
So what? What's the creature challenge? 12 to 6.
So
So
he's got
6 creatures.
he's got a Bog Badger here to give everything menace potentially, which you do for the turn. So
Is that lethal? If he goes Iconoclast kicked with a Bog Badger kicked, he has
hmm,
13 creatures, and
he's
only 3 of them can be blocked.
yeah, this so one, two, yeah, so 3 of them can be blocked. So the 4/4, so the 3/4/4s are going to get blocked. Everything else will get in.
That's
Let's. I don't know if he did all the math, but
3, 6, 8, 10, 25, 28. Yeah, that's lethal.
oh wow, okay. And does Oscar have instants in his hand to stop any of this?
He,
Or
he, he has a hand of 6 lands.
6 lands. Wow, that is a draw. The Bog Badger. Wow. What
Wow.
can get you out of this? I said 20 power of flying. Well, how about 20 power of menace? Same deal here.
Wow. This this game kind of just turned around real quickly.
The bog badger was once in a while this card is it does it. A lot of the time we see it's not doing all that much, but it's doing something that no other card can do, which is push through the correct amount of damage here.
I'm definitely higher on this card than most people, just because like when you're fighting against the domain deck, usually they're playing like one big thing, two big things, three big
Yeah,
things, and then Bog Badger just makes it okay. Well, my whole board has menace.
yeah.
You can block only one thing. Good luck.
I've also liked it as a defensive creature in the domain decks against the aggressive decks.
Oh yeah,
It's
just
just
three.
just comes
Just
down easy to cast. Yeah, this is unbelievable here. And Oscar, despite getting lands out of his deck with the Ren and Seven, just drew lands repeatedly. So Christopher's, I think, thanking his lucky stars here with that Bog Badger draw. That might have been the only card in his deck to win the game at any point in the next few turns. So
oh yeah.
we get to see a game three, which is very exciting. Yeah. So looking at his deck, he doesn't really have much of anything to solve these problems. Like as far as removal, he's thinking of bringing in Protect the Negotiators just as a additional counter spell, just since all of the things are so powerful. But Oscar,
I think Oscar's a bit shook by this loss. He's like looking at his entire pile and is wondering what can I do to stop this.
yeah, interesting that Christopher has 3 copies of Tolarian Terror that he's not running. Um, he actually doesn't have that many spells. It's just like I mentioned, he just seems to be like a creature based deck. But those might be useful here. He's not really considering bringing them in, but they're just
Okay,
big creatures. He's seen a lot of, so he maybe wants back his Gaia's Might that he took out for a shore up before.
so
So
Oscar is putting it a pilfer,
okay,
and I think pilfer still fine in the sideboard. I just think it's better main deckable. It's most of the time. I know if your opponent has no cards in hand, it does nothing. But like in this set where like everyone's playing some value 3-4 color deck, they're always gonna have cards in hand. The pilfer's always gonna hit something. It's always gonna potentially get like the herb or repossession or like some big thing that you can't deal with. It's gonna do something.
yeah. Strangely enough, Christopher's deck has like not that many crazy things you wanna take with Pilfer, but I mean you still always get something. But like I said, a lot of his deck is just like 3 drops, 4 drop creatures. Not too many big bombs at all. Like Herd Migration is a bomb,
Oh yeah, we
but
saw we saw it do some good work by making 5/3/3s that got menace.
yeah. Well, the 5/3/3s were exactly what he needed to not just completely die right there after like because that was the turn after like his entire board got decimated. That he just found the Herd Migration and put 5 more creatures because he was gonna lose the next turn or
Yeah.
in the next 2 turns or so.
I imagine that after Oscar saw this, he's gonna play a lot more to like try and get the board a bit clearer. Because before we saw he was being a bit more conservative, just saying I'm not gonna die to attacks. I'm just gonna keep everything on defensive. He might actually attack with his big things now, just to try and get your opponent to block.
Yeah, I think he got. Well, I don't want to say comfortable, but he was comfortable with his position in the game enough so that he didn't need to start attacking, even though he had bigger creatures. Just figuring, his rares and his values, engines are gonna do the work, and they did do the work, but they didn't do the work of being able to block 20 plus power worth of menace uh, off the top there. That Bog Badger was quite the draw.
Yep.
And you know, I have to give Christopher credit as well for holding the iconoclast there. To maybe just get a surge of surprise damage at some point in the game. Just seeing that a 3/2 on board wasn't going to do anything, and he had enough mana that he could just hold it and just say, at some point maybe I can leverage the haste on this rather than just playing a 3-2. So also a nice foresight by Christopher to just hold on to that card.
Yeah, I didn't quite realize during the course of the game how much bigger Christopher's board had gotten. 'Cause just to me, it looked like it was like about the same size until the final attack. It's just like you realize, oh, he actually has like 7 more creatures than his opponent.
Yeah, well, he had that turn where he was able to empty his hand, and like so he had the 4/4, he had the Tatiova and the Battling Mystic, and then he drew a land to make a 3/3.
Yeah, just
So that was sort of the turn where his board got way wider than Oscar can deal with. This Vengeful Strangler can't block, but it's an annoying little card here. So we
yeah,
see Christopher has a blue-white hand, blue-white lands and only blue cards. So no green source, but no green cards. But he has some card draw here. He has Phyrexian Espionage, Whispering Wizard, Talus Lookout, Silver Scrutiny, Essence Scatter, and 2 more lands. So he's going to be able to find what he needs here. What's Oscar's hand looking like over there?
he has a couple of Bone Splinters, an Extinguish the Light, a Toxic Scorpion, and he just drew a Tatiova.
Yeah, so
So
Bone Splinters turns out pretty good with a Vengeful Strangler.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's more in there to be used as sack fodder than to be an attacker because it doesn't seem like Oscar's game plan is to just kill the opponent just with like creatures that can't block.
Yeah, this is a strange card from him. I'll say based on what we saw last game, just his deck being seeming to be a bit more defensive, but it's working out here with you know with Christopher not having much to do in the early turns. Didn't feel like the Toxic Scorpion was worth countering there. So he's considering between Talus Lookout and Whispering Wizard. I would think he would want to lead with the Talus Lookout here, but we'll see what he decides.
Yeah, leading with like the creature you would prefer to get killed is a common strategy.
Yeah, so he's going with the Wizard here. Um, I assume he's not looking to trade it off, but we'll see what Oscar decides to do this turn.
What spells does he have to offer to the wizard here?
Yeah, he has the Phyrexian Espionage, Silver Scrutiny, the X spell, Essence Scatter. So he'll be
Okay,
able to trigger it given time, but these creatures attacking are not really giving him that much time. So he's just gonna Bone Splitters here. He says the wizard can accrue enough value that I'm okay spending 2 cards to get rid of it. Uh, I don't I don't think Christopher's that upset about that exchange. He's gonna play Talus Lookout here and probably trade with the Vengeful Strangler. Because if you trade with the Vengeful Strangler, there's nothing for it to come back attached to, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the root all coming in domain 3, so can make it 5/5. But I just assume he plays the Tapioba here, even though he's not at land 7. Just play out another creature.
Yeah. What are the other cards again that he has? He has the
Extinguish
Bone
the
Splinter.
light. Extinguish the light. Another Bone
Yeah, Bone
Splinters
Splinter.
and Tapioba. He cannot cast the Extinguish the light. He does not have double black.
He doesn't have double black. There's nothing he wants to kill though. Yeah. Like the only other creature Christopher has is Talus Lookout. So the Extinguisher Light does not need to be cast right now. He's just going to go for the damage here. Makes sense. I think he wants to hold the Tatiova, which also makes sense. So Christopher's deciding between a forest and a Deathbloom Gardener. He's decided on the forest since he has no other green here. So he's going to play Talus Lookout, and he's just going to kill this Voila right here, right now. So nice little turn here to clear up the board because he is at 8. So let's not ignore that he's at 8 with not much to defend himself here. This 3/2 is Talus Lookout is a very good card, but his life total has been under siege here. Uh, let's see if Oscar can keep it up, but as we know, doesn't have too much going on. Yeah, he's just gonna extinguish the light. I think Christopher's kind of okay with this. He gets to pick up his Niall now.
Yeah. Taos Lookout. Always a good feeling when that thing gets targeted by premium removal.
Yeah,
So yeah. Oscar not working with much here anymore. He has like Bone Splinters and Tatiova. Bone Splitter is not going to be very useful unless you have a creature
Yeah,
in
so
play.
he's taken the Niall and he's drawn his another Niall, but I think he's okay with that because if it dies, he's okay leaving it. But he's just gonna espionage here, get one of the cards out of Oscar's hands. I think he realizes he's at the upper hand here now. Despite being down on life, he's way up on cards and has an essence scatter here for something good. This hobbling zombie, I think at 8 life is good enough to essence scatter, but we'll see what Christopher decides to do.
It's definitely annoying. You can't really block it unless you
No.
want to lose one of your creatures, and then even after you block it, it's still, being at 8, the 2/2 still remains a threat.
Okay. I mean, having seen Urtai and Sholdred and all the rest, I think he says he's going to be very, very selective about what he uses his Essence Scatter on. I think he's just going to trade his Niall here and play the second Niall the next turn, and then, you know, he could take two from that Decayed Zombie and not care. So I imagine he's looking to trade this since he has a second Niall. He does have a Mountain in hand, which means that he will have the full required domain to actually draw a card from Niall.
It was a very heads up play to keep the Essence Scatter because now he actually did draw Shieldred.
Okay, wow, yeah. No, with the two Nialls there, he said I could just trade one for the Hobbling Zombie and pay the second one. He can't beat or resolve Shieldred, so he has to just make sure it doesn't resolve. So
So I wonder if Oscar actually pins him on the counterspell once again and baits it out with Tatiova instead.
yeah, he can't really beat Tatiova either. So being at 8, that Vengeful Strangler just strangled Christopher's life total to the point where his
Yeah,
his
exactly.
essence scatter, it has to get something, but what's he willing to counter? So not the Hobbling Zombie because he had actually had blocker for it, but Oscar's taking his time here and maybe reads him for counters well because he did cast the Hobbling Zombie and then Christopher did take a few moments before allowing it to resolve. So that's usually usually a good indicator of a counter spell.
Yeah, it's like it's solid gameplay from both players. Hold the counterspell for something that matters, and then oh, he's just not going to play into the counterspell at all. Just refusing to cast anything.
Yeah, but now the problem is that Christopher's drawn his Marrow, which is essentially a 2 turn clock here.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
Because he does have a mountain in hand to make it a 10-10. He doesn't need to play the mountain yet, but he's just gonna play the mountain. he's gonna tell him I have a 2 turn clock potentially. Okay, Niall's coming down first. Okay, interesting. Maybe he reads Oscar for having a removal and plays the Niall first since he'd rather have a Marrow to just clock in for half Oscar's life total. So
Okay, so here's going to be the pilfer. He drew pilfer. He's going to see that. He's
okay,
going to see he does have the essence scatter.
okay, this is a big turn. This is a big turn right now. Don't. This is a very strange play here to decide to draw 3, give him more things to pilfer away. I guess he was afraid that he'd take the draw spell, but I think we know what he's taking. I
I
think we
mean,
know
now
he's
he's just
taking a
taking.
counter spell.
He might just take the Morrow here.
It could be.
Because now he could just resolve Tatiova, and if he draws lands, Tatiova will just, win the game. Because one land will let him just block Niall. Niall will get one trigger off, but if he draws a land, the 3/3 will be able to block Niall.
Yeah, he's taking the
Uh,
essence scatter. He wants his things to resolve.
you think Niall attacks here now that he sees that there's Tatiova in play?
I think it has to.
Yeah, maybe just find an actual answer to
He
Tatiova
needs to look at
before.
5 cards. Looking at 5 cards is insane. Like this is like if you have full domain, this is a rare level effect. And he's found another essence scatter. So all is well here. So
Yep.
I'm still not sure about the silver scrutiny in response to the pilfer. Just give him more cards to look at. Seemed like a bit unusual play. Um, maybe he was afraid he was going to take the draw spell, but I was pretty sure he was going to be looking to take the essence scatter just because he has shoulder and Tatiova in hand. So it looks like it. might work out here for Christopher thanks to him finding the Essence Scatter here off the Niall. It looks like he can play his Maro and leave up his Essence Scatter, so all is well here.
I think surprisingly, if you're in Oscar's spot, you just want to find a land, but he didn't. He didn't. He found a sunbathing root walla.
Okay, Sunbathing Rootwalla, not great here. Um, doesn't really stand in front of a 10-10. Here's the Sholdred that's, and Oscar's probably bemoaning the fact that Christopher found an Essence Scatter either from his draw step or the Nile trigger. Uh, and now Christopher just gets to swing in here for a lot of damage. Yeah, Oscar's going to take it this time. Obviously, cannot continue to take it. And now Christopher has found looks like he's going to take a herd migration here with his Niall.
That should probably signify the end then.
Yeah,
She's gonna make 7-3-3, 5-3-3s.
that will almost assuredly wrap up the game. Don't know what Oscar has in one draw step that can prevent all this damage. So you know, really impressive showing from Christopher's deck. Using his Essence Scatter sparingly, and that second game looked like all hope was lost, but that Bog Badger showed its face and turned around that game in an instant, and we see him pull out the third game here. So congratulations to Christopher G on the victory, and we'll be back a bit later with the next feature match.